Ladies and gentlemen, a journey continues. It's been a while because we've had so much MMO stuff to get TDP stuff for you. And what better way to return than with Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2? 13 years! 13 long years since Space Marine 1 came out and the Adventures of Titus were on top of us all. But, of course, I went down a Warhammer rabbit hole at our last year's subathon of rebuilding this place and got very much into the story. Can't believe I missed out on it. And then ended up starting Warhammer Summer, which we'll be concluding in a little while, towards the end of the year. And hit straight into Space Marine 1 as one of the most recommended games by everybody who knew about Warhammer. Had a blast with it, loved it. It still massively holds up today, by the way. Graphically, absolutely fine, unless you're being like a bit of an ultra snob. It is like 360-ish era. It's totally fine. Upscaled on PC, ran perfectly, no problems whatsoever, and it's good, wholesome, gory, orc blasting fun. So Space Marine 2, I only had to wait a few months to play. Other people have waited 13 years. And it's also infamous because of how much... as somebody who's new to the Warhammer games, I've got Rogue Trader coming up on my menu soon. They have had a mixed bag of history with Warhammer games. Hit and miss. IP abuse is what it was referred to. And the late, great Total Biscuit, who once gave me the best piece of advice I could ever hope for when I started doing YouTube, bless his soul, actually replied to me. And I had the fortunate stuff to have his wife Jenna in our live stream chit-chatting with us over the last few years. Like, really nice. And of course, recently I did a podcast with Dodger and Jesse Cox, from those of you who remember the co-optional days. Very fortunate to have spoke to him briefly, and unfortunate to have not spent more time with him. I'm going emotional here, but it's made famous for the fact that his review of Space Marine 1 was glowing in all regards. It was, blew him away. He said it was just incredible and so faithful for the Warhammer story. So fear going into this a little bit, in that when games like this have a sequel, they're certainly 13 years apart, that weird temptation some of the developers have to reinvent the wheel, modernize, do it in a new and interesting way. We've seen that so many times, especially with like adaptations to television, where someone's like, I could put a new spin on this. No, we want Space Marine 2. And did they deliver? Yes, they did. In true, brutal, I don't think there's a game that's come out that I can remember that has perfectly matched the weight and presence of somebody wearing such enormous hulking body armor that is standing 9 feet tall compared to the average human and is stomping and crushing things into the floor. Every attack you do feels like you are a walking battle tank and destroying and crushing, and you are mercilessly raging through. And that means it never gets old. It never gets old. It's just fun after fun, executing things, ripping them apart, pulling out your gun, swapping to your laser sword or your power hammer or whatever it might be, and just crushing things into the floor. It's so good. I stuck with the chainsaw through the whole way. But gameplay-wise, absolutely top tier, and it's been really cool to see how many people are getting into Warhammer lore now. I'm not a fan of the tabletop, and I don't really paint the models, although we did do a huge diorama. We had hundreds of people making models for our PreachCon diorama. We'll be loving to show you guys when it's finished. But this nailed all that and got people to start checking out the Warhammer lore videos, which I recommend Lewitton09. He graciously allowed us to watch his videos over the subathon so I could understand the lore of what was going on, and it's just intriguing and you want to know more and more and more. It's great. Did they remain faithful? Well, we did 3-player co-op. Me, God Game, and Nupss, and we drafted in our resident Warhammer lore expert, Mr. Decadence. Decadence has been invested in Warhammer since he was a child. He owns all the novels. He is very knowledgeable on all of the Warhammer stuff and reads as much as he possibly can, has signed copies, really into it, and the perfect person to add into our relatively novice lore knowledge of Warhammer to fill in the blanks for our audience and things, and also a great gamer. So worked out super well to have this. His opinion was, this is about as faithful and carefully done and detailed and respectful of the Warhammer universe that you could ever hope for. Just the sheer little subtle things they've added in around the ship, how your armor works, the decoration on it, how the Brotherhood would treat a fallen comrade, how the chain of command works, the fear of the Imperium, the fear of the Tyranids. All that is represented in absolute perfect form. Especially the dialogue between the brothers. Because even if you don't play co-op, you still have the two brothers that come along with you. And how they would react to certain scenarios is all well within the established canon of Warhammer. And so you can just... This is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous that a YouTube recording just doesn't do it justice compared to what you can get at home on your PC. There's so many points in this game that you're just looking at the background and just drinking it in, the sheer horror of a Tyranid invasion and just how beautiful it looks at the same time, and how they've coordinated it to really make you feel like you're facing unstoppable amounts of forces. And of course, many people know StarCraft was originally supposed to be a Warhammer game, which then transferred, so the Tyranids are the Zergs, etc., etc., as to how it works. And people are like, this is like StarCraft. Like, yeah, it was based on that. And now more people are into it, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted to see, because it's well worth it. So, wholly recommend. I only played the main campaign just due to stream time limitations, but this is absolutely a game I'm going to go back and play in my off time. When I eventually have a PC at home, that is absolutely something I'm going to do. So fully recommend. Even if you, I would say though, it is a little expensive if you're not invested in the Warhammer universe. This was feedback we had from a lot of people. Is like, I'm not super into the Warhammer universe, and the campaign is like 10 hours on veteran mode. You can do a slightly harder mode called Angel of Death, which feels a bit like bullet spongy and stuff like that. But other than that, it's not a super long campaign. There is a bunch of stuff to do afterwards, a load of side missions that take you on different stories that happen simultaneously, along with the main story. And there's tons of weapons and unlocks and PvP and things like that. So you will get your longevity out of it if you enjoy the combat, which is stellar, so you should get that. But if you're not, this is something I would wait to be on discount. I consider this an S tier game. I rank it S tier. But at the same time, it is expensive. I will be clear with you. I got it for free. I got all the codes for free. Not that we were sponsored. They literally just gave them us for free because they wanted us to play it. It wasn't a sponsorship or anything. But I did get it for free, so I didn't feel that burden on my wallet. It's just come out. It's expensive. On a Steam sale, though, if you're like on the fence about, oh, I don't know, Steam sale, yes, absolutely, 100%. So enjoy that, my friends.